Okay, welcome to this Buddhism A-level video on 3.2 Excel Mahayana, lesson 4 of 5 lessons, and this is part 4, looking at the school in particular of Mahayana Buddhism you called Yogacara. We'll think about its origin, its founders, and its key ideas and its continuing influence today. So, the traditional view of this within Mahayana Buddhism is that the founder of Yogacara is this guy Asanga, and he is the guy who got the teaching from, now this is interesting, Maitreya, future Buddha, the Bodhisattva in heaven, the Sambhakaya realm, and in one of these heavenly realms called the Tusita celestial heaven. And so he's claiming special authority because he's got his teaching from a heavenly Bodhisattva in the heavenly realm. And that's a claim that establishes authority. Well, Asanga had a brother, Visabandhu, and in reality, both of them contributed to the development of this very interesting, very esoteric kind of philosophy. Who was this Maitreya Natha that Asanga claims to have got his authority from? Might he even have been a real person? Is it just a myth used to claim authority? An actual heavenly bodhisattva? These are all fascinating debates that we could have. Who is Asanga and his brother Visabandhu? Okay, Asanga was born, lived in the northwest of India, 270 to 350. He was born son of a high caste father, a Kshatriya, and a Brahmin mother, so the two highest castes in Hinduism. In modern-day Peshawar in Pakistan, which was part of an ancient kingdom called the Kingdom of Gandhra. And this, I want you to look at the map, how this is just next to modern-day Afghanistan. It's on the Silk Route. It's the crossroads of cultures, the crossroads of the world. The influence of, at this point, perhaps Christianity, the influence of Greco-Roman ideas, the influence of China, the influence of Hindu ideas from his own parents. It's all in the mix. Academic views about Asanga is that he got his teaching from some previous unknown historical person who might be the real, as it were, Maitreya Natha, and that he didn't really get it from heaven or someone or from some other teachers, but that he himself is Maitreya and wrote himself into the narrative and only claimed it came from heaven, as it were. He wrote a number of books, in fact. The Yogacara Bhumi, so the Sastra, or the encyclopedia definitive text of Yogacara school, and the one that we'll think about, the Maha, so the great Yana, the great way, Sutra, kind of discourse thread, Makakarikya, which we'll look at just in a second. And he wrote other books. Now, we've got to step back, and to understand Yogacara, you've got to understand the idea, a general idea in philosophy. So there's this, general idea in philosophy of philosophical skepticism, epistemic, or to do with knowledge, epistemic skepticism. We can't, some would say, know anything. We can't really, everything is an illusion, a delusion of the mind. And philosophical skepticism is not unknown. Think The Matrix and films like that play on philosophical skepticism. Think Plato's theory of the cave. How can we know anything is true in this world of shadows? and this would have influenced in the West Kantian ideas, that everything is an interpretation that we see of our mind placing an interpretation on the world, and whether the world actually exists is probably not the case in this. And in the West we call this idealism, this view that everything is the creation of the mind, and that everything we know and understand is the creation of the mind. Think of some of these philosophical illusions on the left. Can you see the old woman, or can you see the young woman? Do you see white bats or black bats? White angels or black bats? Or maybe it's devils actually. Black devils or white angels on the right as you look. So this second of the three important Mahayana schools, Yogacara, claims a key idea, and it's this idea, Sita Matra. And Sita is the word for mind or consciousness, and then Matra only. Consciousness only. So this takes the idea of non-duality to an even more extreme level. What is it? Well, karma and karmic fruition doesn't exist. It's all in consciousness. The idea of things come into existence and out of existence because of our good and bad deeds. Your karmic fruition is all the creation of the mind. In the West, as we said, idealism. The only real thing is our thinking, is our thoughts, and the material universe is actually unreal, the creation. If there's anything outside of the mind, and there are several versions of this Yogacara. Some think there is nothing outside of the mind, the more extreme, but ordinary sort of plain Yogacara would say, well, we don't know what's outside the mind, we only have what the mind says, what consciousness says. So a key word is zest or zestful. The mind is zesty, zestful. It's constantly projecting reality, and that's our problem. The mind is creative, it's loving, it's wise, but it's poisoned by ignorance and desire. Poisoned. In the Sati Matra theory, there is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. Now, this is really important. It will affect notions of Tibetan thinking, in the idea of the primordial mind, but we're not there yet. Pure consciousness, suchness, ultimate mind, as it were, has echoes back to the three body doctrine. That's pure consciousness. And then emerging from that is the storehouse consciousness. And then we start to get towards logical thinking, abstract thinking, the mind, the everyday consciousness of words, and it comes from the five senses. And pure mind is Buddha nature in the middle here, Buddha nature. Whereas, and it's the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, whereas the five senses and these other things are not, are false dualistic. And that's our real problem. Our problem is not that we suffer because of desire. Our problem is that we think we exist. We think we're here because of our five senses. And what we think about this in our mind, and what abstract concepts we create. And we need to get back beneath that to this storehouse consciousness, and beneath that to this pure consciousness. And Yogacara develops variously methods to do this. The re-emphasis in Yogacara, as its original name suggests, Yogacara, is yoga practices. You can't learn anything. You can only do practices that purify the mind. And the great exponent of these yogic practices that purify the mind is a Sangha and his brother.